Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to Heroic Stats, episode 44, an Any Heroics podcast. You definitely didn't miss this last week. There's just been another gap in the time continuum. Apologies, we're just busy, to be honest. John was away, Dave was busy, I was busy, and just, you know, life happens. I tell you what, pay us 50 grand a year each, and we'll make podcasts every single day, I promise. We're back again with your almost weekly updates on GBHL podcasts, not podcasts. We don't review podcasts. Podium lists, hobby lists, just general chat, hatred for Dunlending Huskars, and anything else we feel like chatting about. We are
I do hate
joined.
Dunlending Huskars.
Yeah, get at me in the comments below if you also hate Dunlending Huskars. We are joined today by the wonderful, absolute pillar of the community. Cannot sing his praises enough, Mr. David Reed, King in the North. Say hi, David.
Hello. Good evening, folks.
Big.
What an absolute! If you don't know who David Reed is, you've clearly never been to Scotland. You've clearly never been made aware of. Stirlingshire is so that's one of the reasons we've got you on the podcast is because Scouring of Stirlingshire was obviously weekend just gone. You are and have been the TO of that event for, is it 10 years? 11 years?
11 years.
11 years.
Very start of the GBH. It's the only one still season 1 to season 11, I guess, rather than GBHL now.
I guess so. I mean, we did have one. Well, I think it's 10 seasons because there was 1 2-year season because of COVID. It's been reason why you've only done 10 editions of Stirling, despite having doing it for 11 years.
We've done 11. It's 11 over 12 years.
Is it?
Yeah, the same stuff. Yeah, 2013, 2024.
Yeah.
We're a gap in 2020 for COVID.
That's still 11.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're good at maths here on this podcast.
Oh, maths.
I am joined, as almost always, by Mr. David Farmer and John Partridge, the intern, my loyal employees who I don't actually pay, so I just call them teammates instead. First of all, we do have to talk about how we are affiliated with the wonderful Seventh City Collectibles. We did actually have someone go into their shop who listens to the podcast who had a chat to Will, and Will messaged me, and I was like, yes! We've made an impact with our advertising. Well done, us.
Relentless shilling.
Yes, our relentless shilling has had an effect. There are, of course, stockists of all your favourite systems. Middle-earth, 40k, Lorcana, The Old World, Age of Sigmar, Magic the Gathering, Star Wars, Legion, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! They do terrain, they do food, they buy and sell your second-hand armies, and they also do event tickets. You should buy an event ticket for the 7th City GP 2025, which is going to be a wonderful event. I think we're all going to be there. David, are you going to be there as well? I know.
Probably not. I don't think. Like the week after Green Hollow, which is a big new 100 in Glasgow. So I probably won't make 2 2-day 100s in a row.
It's 2 weeks after, I think.
But I might have a look at them.
Yeah, Green Hollow, I think, is the 8th and 9th, isn't it?
Green Hollow, yeah.
Yeah, so the 7th City GP
it is 2 weeks after, yes.
After that.
Might take a look in that case.
I'm sort of wondering whether I want to get tickets for all these things. I probably will, and then decide later if I want to actually go, because motivation to compete is low at the beginning of the year. But that is usually the most profitable time to compete. And new edition means that new things, new shinies, different things. But also, if the edition isn't fun, then whoops.
Oh no. You invested £1,000 in tickets.
There goes my hobby.
Oopsie.
Just get into Lorcana, Dave.
Yeah, just get into Lorcana.
This is the 7th City Collectibles and Lorcana podcast.
Yes, and Lorcana. John, please cut in your holiday pictures here with all the photos with the Disney princesses with the signed cards. You're not going to do that. That would involve editing.
I might do that. That's quite fun.
You might do that. Okay. Moving on to the only event of last weekend, the weekend most recently just gone, that we're going to cover, which is, of course, as previously hinted, the reason why we've got Mr. Reed on the podcast, the Scouring of Stirlingshire. It's only Scotland's bloody best tournament and potentially one of the best ones in the UK, I have heard, to the point where legions of Southerners have been travelling up to plunder it for GBHL points for the last 11 years. Run, of course, by Dave and Chris. Dave, tell us a little bit about the event, because you've had a relatively similar format for a couple of years at least, haven't you?
Yes, I mean, our format's pretty standard at this point in time. So we do 800 points, and it's good versus evil. So one of the few, certainly for a few years, it was only us in the One World GT that was running that format. There might be others now.
That was the case this year. Yeah.
Points. We have minor major victories, where to get the major victories tend to be focused on what we perceive to be the scenario objectives. So it won't necessarily be BP discrepancy. It would be something like, if it was heirlooms, for example, it would be you would have to win and have the heirloom. Lords of Battle, you would have to win and have at least double the kill count, that sort of stuff. So there will be defined major victory conditions in each of those. And yeah, we've been running pretty much the same format since it started, with just a few tweaks here and there of things like TP, TP scored and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the...
You also, I'm not entirely sure if you did this last year as well, but you did something quite interesting, which is because everyone runs good versus evil and therefore runs in round 1 and 2 one good and one evil game. You said that in game 1, was it all of good or all of evil has priority for Maelstrom, and then the opposite in game 2?
So
it was the same in game 2, because everyone else is using the opposite.
Yeah.
So good had priority for every good side had priority for the first 2 rounds.
So everyone has to go first and in one of the
gets to go
Maelstroms
second,
and gets to go second in the other, which is quite a nice little tweak to make sure that no one feels like they've been especially hard done by the luck, hopefully.
Yeah, we did that, and we specifically didn't announce which side we'd get on, so that way people wouldn't tweak their lists, because I guess otherwise you see a whole bunch of Madrills and a bit less Guritses if people know. But we wrote on the morning. It was, I think we really wanted to fill out all 18 of the match play guide scenarios, and we just hadn't done Command the Battlefield. I guess that's another thing people might not know, that this was probably what made me super popular, but heirlooms originated way before Heirlooms Ages Past existed. We wrote a custom scenario called the Scouring, which was based loosely on a Warhammer World doubles tournament for like 2011 or maybe even older than that, 2009. I'm sure my age. But we created the Scouring, which is very similar to what would become Heirlooms Ages Past, although it's a bit more. We give 3 victory points for breaking if you're unbroken, and only 5 for holding the relic. So you can still win if you don't have the relic, but to get that major win, you need to have it. So that's our mission, and it's always round 1. For that reason, we really ran the other Maelstrom mission so much in Command the Battlefield that we wanted to before the match play guide goes in the bin. And this was, I guess, the last chance to get it done. So we thought, well, how to make Maelstrom more fun is have more it, I guess. It actually balances out, hopefully, I think.
Very good. Yeah. I've actually I've made a vow that I will be travelling up next year to Stirling, because I said I was going to do it last year and then I just didn't have the holiday days left in the end.
There was a slightly amusing skew with evil going second in Scouring, which is essentially heirlooms. Round 1, I think I got a major win, and I was playing someone who got a draw with their good, which shows that a lot of evil players got major wins on the first round.
It actually ended up being the opposite. Good dominated really hard in Lords of Battle. Game 3.
Yeah. Game 3, it was like, I mean, James Goebel, I beat him. Sorry, he lost on table 2 and actually went up to table 3 for round 4. Sorry, he lost from table 3 and went up to table 2 for round 4. That's how hard Good owned Lords of Battle, which is pretty funny. Anyway, Let's
Anyway.
look at some lists. Oh no, actually no. We need to shout out some people, some pillars of the community.
So we had best painted army was Henry Williams. We will see this in a second. And Patrick McCormick had the best painted mini. I believe you did a theme for the best painted mini. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, so that's something we did. We originally did the first best painted mini like way back a whole bunch of years ago. We brought it back as a sort of permanent fixture. Last year the theme was hobbits and ruffians. This year in Isengard and Dunland. So the theme is kind of like two, I guess, natural enemy factions. It just condenses it a little bit. Hopefully, it gives people some the chance to go and paint a mini that's maybe sitting in the pile or paint something new. And I know a few people did paint new entries for it.
Yeah. I missed the theme, and I was looking at them and like, there's an awful lot of Rohan there. What's the deal with all the Rohan?
Yeah, I mean, of the 11 entries, 9 of them did go for the Rohan faction. Then we had one each, Dunland and Isengard.
I suppose that's probably a reflection of how popular Rohan is and how potentially slightly less popular Isengard and Dunland are.
I think Rohan have the coolest scenes overall. Some of the coolest scenes in the.
They've also got a lot of love with new minis over the last couple of years, even revivals of existing minis as well. Like the
Justice for Brand.
Yeah, Justice for Brand. Runner-up on the painting categories was Sean Clark for both categories, which is very cool. Shout out, Sean. Most sporting was Jamie Moore, who is no stranger to most sporting awards.
He's a good lad, is Jamie.
And runner-up was Luke Hilder, friend of the podcast. I don't think he's ever been on. No, he hasn't ever been on. I know he hasn't. But always nice to see Luke at an event. He's
it's well deserved. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to collect his award because he had to rush off for a flight. But Sam Graham dutifully ferried it down south for him, which I'm sure he will appreciate when he actually gets it, which will happen at some point this week, I expect.
Yes, I would
because Luke, being a big brain, delivered his models to Sam to put in Sam's car, that then came up with Sam while Luke came up on the plane. Yeah. There's a lot of faith to have in Sam not breaking down or something funny like that, but
it wouldn't be like Luke Hilder to lose his entire army for an event.
No, I'm sure he wouldn't do that.
Oh wait, no, that's happened twice at 2 separate hundreds.
Yeah, he's a bit of a badass, actually.
Yeah, who even needs an army?
Who needs an army?
Come up with pennies. That'll do for models. Let's have a look.
We had quite a few armies on loan, and a few models here and there. So we'd have thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my entire good side army was a Lendo.
It's quite common nowadays, especially in the last few weeks of of this edition. People going, "Oh, I want to try this out, but I'm not going to invest in the army."
Yeah, well, that happens a lot. The community, especially sort of the competitive segment of the community, tends to go to a lot of tournaments all over the country, and they get to know each other and they get to be friends, and so you end up in situations where you're like rivals, even lending each other armies, which is quite fun in a way.
John, you're never getting these goblins back, by the way.
I will one day.
You'll steal them from my house in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Let's have a quick look at the painted entries. So we had an incredible board from Henry here, which is an excuse for using what is presumably a Khazad-dûm and Gwahir alliance.
Yeah.
Or is it Kingdom of Moria?
Kingdom of Moria can't ally with anything.
Yes, yeah. Apologies. No, that's very clearly Durin in the middle. I just got a bit thrown off by what I thought was Floy standing on the rocks.
I think he's just used him as a captain, I think.
I see.
The Balan models there as a captain. I think Durin double captain and Gwahir.
Yes. Yeah, that would make sense. But an absolutely glorious kind of, I don't know if it's exiting at the gate of as an old. I'm sure a dwarf expert on this podcast will be able to tell me what the theme is here.
Yeah, because there's the water beside. If you see the water down, possibly. I'm not sure exactly, but there is water beside it. Looked awesome. I don't know how well it pops from the pictures, but there's LED lights at the back as well. There's sort of like a red LED out.
Suspicious red light coming out of Moria.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't be Durin's Bane, could it?
No, Durin's still alive. It can't be Durin's Bane.
he could be almost about to not be.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very cool display board. It's nice to see people going the absolute extra effort for their best painted army.
It's awesome. I know Henry had messaged me beforehand saying that he was looking to, he built this display board up specifically for Scouring, so it was really nice to see it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Display boards OP.
Display boards OP.
After so, it's certainly at least involved in the GBHL, so it's really cool to see how far the hobby effort comes.
Yeah. Especially you see the kind of entries where people literally have to take up the entire boot of their car to transport their hobby project around, which is quite cool.
I just put mine on Jordan's lap.
Yeah, true. I do remember a particularly hairy journey with 5 people in a Mini Cooper with a display board in as well. Sorry, not a Mini Cooper, a Mini Countryman, which was almost as cramped. And then we've got the Rohan single best mini. It's a Gamling with the infamously horrific to paint on Royal Standard of Rohan. It's done very, very nicely here.
The freehand on that horse, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah. Paddy's armies are always cool, but again, I think he's done it up just for the centre into this as well. But that looks really nice.
Lovely. Well, moving on to the third place list, it's a man who has been reported as washed up many, many times, and yet he still comes back. It's Mr. David Clubley.
Yeah, the evidence of his demise is always exaggerated.
Yeah, somehow Clubley returned.
I think it's a Dave thing, to be honest.
Yeah. Any Dave in the league is just immortal. They can just come out of nowhere and just be like, "Yep, I'll have that podium, thank you. That's mine." So running through his, let's go through his good list first. So it is a Lothlorien and Rohan Green Alliance with 43 models. It's led by Galadriel with 4 Gulliver Glathrim Court, 6 Glathrim Warriors with Elf Bow and Spear, a Glathrim Warrior with Spear and Banner, 5 Glathrim Warriors with Spear and Shield, and 2 Glathrim Warriors with Spear. He's got Theodred, Heir of Rohan with Horse, importantly no shield, the correct choice. 6 Warriors of Rohan with Shield and Throwing Spear, and 2 Riders of Rohan. And then he's got Erkenbrand on Horse, 12 Warriors of Rohan with Shield and Throwing Spears, and then Dernhelm, everyone's favourite 75-point model.
Pair of models.
Well, I would argue it's one model which has 2 models counting for. It's like, is a Wild Marauder a model or not?
Yes, it is, because it counts as 1 for breaking.
How many fate points does it have? This is I really like this list. I've seen Clubley running the kind of mid-tier Rohan heroes as kind of a here is my, it's a hammer and anvil kind of, here is my line which will hold, and here is my heroes.
I think this list is a lot better than that one. Galadriel becomes viable in this pack because I can't. Well, I've never been to Stirling. Well, I've been to Stirling 3 times. In contest, wasn't at any of them. Galadriel is always a heavy feature at Stirling when contest isn't around, because if there's fixed scenarios, good side, she's just an excellent profile.
Yeah,
Galadriel with a warband of Glathrim or Wood Elves or something is always going to be a popular choice.
She's arguably the best leader for
she's very good.
PvPs.
Like, obviously she's not fantastic at casting, but like for 130 points, she's significantly cheaper than any other good side models that can do what she can do, and she leads a bunch of really good troops. And has, I mean, because it's Loth, they ally with everything in good, like literally everything. Yeah. This is Green Alliance, but you don't have to do a Green Alliance. I mean, like Theodred, Erkenbrand, Dernhelm, or I mean, Erkenbrand is probably the odd one out there.
It's just the courage bonus, really, isn't it, for the warrior?
Yeah, I mean, like also you need a marcher, so he's opted for Erkenbrand over Gamling.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense. He must have got 2 wins of this. I played him first round. I used my evil. As I alluded to, he had to go first, which meant I could prank him. Lol. At Heirlooms, but it was a tough game. I managed to get the major win in the end, but he only because it would have been a major win anyway because I had the relic, but it was a fairly big win, which would have been a lot closer if he hadn't broken me. Failed to break me on like the final wound. I think it was 1 off breaking me. And that evil list, let's talk about the evil list. It's 45 models, 9 bows. He's got a Witch King on horse, 3, 14, 3, 2, sorry. The 150 points, that's a good version. Crown of Mogul horse. He's got 15 Black Nuns, 14 Rannons with Spear and Shield, and a single Orc with Spear. 8 trackers with the Shadow Lord on horse. He's got Gurits. I said the troops before I said the heroes there. Whoops. And then he's got Siladan with armored horse, 2 7 riders, and a Hydra Raider with bow and poisoned arrows. I like this list, except for the fact that it has Gurits over something like Gorbag, although I assume that would have been a mitigating the double Maelstrom situation, because Gurits is guaranteed value there.
Yeah.
If you're using the 4 heroes and you're not running Shagrat, you're having slightly more models. I prefer Gorbag just because he's another striker, he's another fighter, but Gurits is a fine choice, especially when you know that there's going to be double Maelstrom to start the day. It can set you up well.
He can save you a couple of embarrassing might points, can't he?
I mean, Gurits means that if you're bringing on your models on the north and south side of the board, which you should probably try and do anyway because it's the most reliable way to do it, you never have to spend more than 1 might point.
Yeah.
You either bring everything on together at the cost of 4 might total, which would be the worst case scenario, or you can keep it off the board for free. So yeah, he's like him and Madrill that's just a really, really good effect.
Yeah, I think he's also, and I always say this about Gurits, I think he's a very good cracker for killing like something D8 or more.
He's fine. If you've got 2 wraiths, he'll definitely be able to help you with stuff. And actually, like, this list is a really, really efficient battle line. You don't need that much help from the heroes. It has its weaknesses, obviously, but
this turn 5 is quite nice if you're going into goods. You're going to come up with cards, potentially some Kazagard downhills.
You pierce up, or
strength
you
5
2 hands against a hero. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy to jump in on like an Elrond who's trapped, because we transfix, so you can pile in, because he's like, his strikes double, and he's going to be, you can 2-hand with him and get like 4 strikes winning on freeze. Winning on 4, sorry, not freeze, which is pretty nice.
If you were to improve this list, would you say you'd consider dropping Gurits for Gorbag?
That's kind of how I would do it, but also like this is the kind of thing this is the kind of modification I might make with this particular rules pack. And like this list is just solid. It's a well-known list. It's just good. It goes well. It goes effectively.
So speaking of swapping for Gorbag,
that David played in his armies, he played good evil, good evil, good evil. So that evil list played Command Battlefield, Seize the Prizes, and Breakthrough. Would have played the female.
Those are the ones that you'd want to play with that scenario, with that one, except for the first one. You'd want to play that at Heirlooms rather than Command the Battlefield. But otherwise, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. That was where his loss was. So yeah,
that was me, baby.
So moving on to second place, Mr. Ashley Woolger, with another Galadriel.
This is, I believe, Ashley's first ever second place. He's won a bunch of tournaments. He's got 3rd before, but he's never come 2nd before. So well done, Ashley.
Yeah, you've broken your not second place curse. Firstly, we've got a Lothlorien Numenor Alliance. So this is yellow, obviously. We've got Galadriel. We've got 3 guards with Glathrim Port, a Glathrim Knight with Shield and Elf Bow, Wood Elf Sentinel, 6 warriors with Shield, 4 with Elf Bow Spear, 2 with Shield and Spear, and a Wood Elf Warrior with Spear. And then he's got Elendil with Horse and Shield, 6 warriors with Shield, 6 with Bow Spear, 1 warrior with Shield, Spear, and Banner, and then 5 with Shield and Spear. And then last of all, he's got a Captain of Numenor, bare bones, no gear whatsoever. I like it.
Yeah, I looked at a list like this for Nanith Arnoidiad, which I didn't go to in the end, but I talked to Finley and he ended up using something similar. That was basically with Elendil as the leader, but because that's what was on the table there. I think I'd drop a model and get more Glathrim Court in, like the Wood Elf Warrior, for example. But then actually, you kind of want I think actually, D6 frontline is more important.
So he is max warbands, isn't he?
Well, no, he's got a Captain of Numenor with nothing.
So 39 minus 3. Oh, sorry, I see what you mean.
He could easily have
the Doy.
multiples. But like, I would probably drop to 38 because you don't get anything for 39, and then use those points on getting spears on those Warriors of Numenor with shield, just because you don't really ever want the Warriors of Numenor on the front if you can avoid it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Just because I D5. I always think Easterlands have changed it a bit, but I always tend to think in good versus evil, like have if you're using good armies that you kind of want to be the odd defense, because more evil tends to trend towards defense 4, but Easterlands have changed that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, didn't see much in the way of Easterlings actually.
Sadly, surprisingly few.
This list would probably go pretty well to them, I think. Although you'd hope that Rutabi doesn't pop off too much off of the free hero commands. It's cool to see Elendil. I'd like to use him. I hope he doesn't lose his horse in the new edition because he's a bit of a beast. As Denby alluded to a minute ago, Ashley's evil list, which is very unsurprising if you know Ashley Wilger, is Mordor Serpent Horde with the Witch King of Angmar with 3-14-2, exactly the same as David Clubley's. He's got the Shadowlord on horse, which is unusual for him. That's not really his standard setup. And he's got Gorbag with shield in the Mordor section. Then he's got Scylladan on the armored horse. And then his troops are, he's got 14 Black Nuns, 13 mana spear and shield, 1 mana with just a spear. He's got 11 trackers, which is quite a lot, but I spoke to him about this and he said because trackers are getting made legacy, he wanted to have extras just for fun. And then his Scylladan's leading his mandatory 3 Serpent Riders. I think Ash always takes 3 Serpent Riders, or occasionally 2 at smaller points. Yeah, it's, again, as I was saying before, he's gone for Gorbag over Guritz, which I think is if you're not worried about the Maelstrom missions, which one could cynically say are at the beginning of the tournament, so you're most likely to be playing weaker opposition, I think you can probably get away without Guritz. Because you're only going to have to use him. You're definitely only using it once. It's not like you're playing a random one where you might have it more than once. It's only ever going to come up once. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag. I like this. You know, what was that?
How many missions he played as well? So he
played the first one. I know that because he was playing Elendil and Command the Battlefield.
Yeah, he was evil goods, and then he got good in Lords of Battle, which is what you want there. And then he had evil Seize the Prizes, which you got that the right way around.
Also want that, yeah, exactly. That was the big one, I think. Evil for Seize the Prizes because of the double wraiths. Good for Lords of Battle for the smashy, strong battle line setup.
And he had his good assassination and his evil in Breakthrough.
I think he probably would have those the other way around, given the choice.
Better the other way around. That the good in assassination is where he dropped the points. That was the draw. He drew Ian McGregor. They were one there. A super good start as well. Like he killed the Witch King and Felbeast in like the first turn of combat. It was the general, and obviously it's a massive threat in an Angmar army. But I think Gulliver started to do some Gulliver things towards the end and managed to pull Ian back into it to the point that I think I saw them revealing the stuff. I think game, but draw.
Sorry, say that again, Dave. You cut out there for that part.
I think Ash lost the game when they were revealing their target and assassination shot. But I think Ian did really well to pull that back after losing the Witch King so early.
Yeah. Well, shall we see who won?
Yeah, so we've seen 2 Galadriels and 2 Shadow Lords. So I'm not saying let's hope you didn't bring shooting to this event, but first place was Mr. Jake Rawson with a Lothlorien list and a Mordor Isengard list. So let's run through the Lothlorien list again. Surprise, surprise, it's a good leader that's Galadriel. With a Wood Elf Sentinel, 6 Wood Elf Warriors with Elf Bow and Wood Elf Spear, 7 Warriors, Galadriel Warriors, with Shield. We've got Rumil with 5 Warriors with Shield, 3 Warriors with Spear, 1 with Spear and Banner, and 2 Guard of the Galadriel Court, and a Galadriel Knight with Shield and Elf Bow. And finally, we've got Haldir with Elf Bow and Heavy Armor, with 5 Warriors with Shield, 4 Warriors with Spear and Elf Bow, and 2 Guard of the Galadriel Court. and 1 warrior with banner, shield, spear, and 1 knight with shield and bow. So he has gone for the double banner in this list, and quite a few wood elves, I would say.
Yeah, this is pretty normal for him. He likes to get high numbers, and also 2 knights. No march, but this is. I mean, I've seen him take this exact list to several events. 3 Galadriel warriors with spear and no shield doesn't look right to me. But because I don't remember seeing any of those in our game.
It's
But
entirely possible that I absolutely biffed the construction of this list.
Galadriel warrior with shield and no spear, did you say?
No spear and no shield. There are 3 in there. I don't think that's correct, but I could be wrong.
That's the list. The list they submitted. Warriors with spear, 30 points, which would be right.
Yeah, that's what I've got from what John
I
said.
don't remember seeing any of those, but I might just not have noticed. Anyway, it's Lothlorien. I don't really, when I played him, we were playing Assassination, so he didn't really use any of his heroes. It was a bit like a kind of Hero Some Elves setup, which is, that's what this list is good at. Lothlorien is the Hero Some Elves list. Pretty good shooting, 15 shots. Blinding Light means that will outshoot, I think, anything in Evil, really. I don't think any Evil list will outshoot that in like a sustained shooting war, barring some pretty outrageous luck. Or like Ballista nonsense, because, Ballistas can sometimes just cheese things. Galactum Court, the Rue Mill can really deny big stuff. The power, it's a good list. I don't really have a lot to say about it. The highlight of my game for me ended up being when my 2 Warg Riders charged in to stop him from shooting, and both of them killed a guy with shield with throwing spear on the way in, which is pretty lit.
That's pretty nice.
Was that with Blinding Light as well?
No, he didn't cast Blinding Light because I wasn't going to sit there and try and shoot him with 6 trackers versus his 15 bows. But no, it was just 5 by 6 both times, which is not exactly likely. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Pretty fun. And then let's look at his evil list, which is, as alluded to, is Mordor Isengard. It is Shadowlord with horse, leading Orc Warrior with shield, spear, and banner. Then he's got 5 Platinums, 5 Mariners with shield and spear. It's pretty normal for a Mordor contingent. Then he's got the Isengard contingent, Lurtz with shield. The Shadowlord is the leader, by the way. Lurtz with shield, leading 2 demolition teams, where both the engineers have flaming brands on both of them. A Wild Man, 4 Uruk Warriors with crossbow, 3 with pike, a Crebain, then Gorofine Skin, leading 5 with crossbow, 5 with pike, and another Crebain. So 2 Crebain, 9 crossbows, plus Lurtz's bow. It's not as much shooting. He clearly feels that the bombs are the more reliable part. And I think in Good v Evil, that's correct. I mean, Galadriel's going to be bloody everywhere. You don't want to overinvest in shooting. Bombs do good work versus elves and such. You can almost always trade evenly. And then you have a little bit of a battle line separate from that. I don't know what he played against, to be honest. I know he played this at the Seize the Prizes because he had the Crebains for that. But I'm a little surprised it went as well as it did, I suppose.
He played the evil in Heirlooms or Scouring, Seize the Prize, and Breakthrough.
Yeah, that is the exact setup you would want. I know I played him in Assassination and I got the wrong. I rolled the dice and I got the wrong way around. I wanted to play my good and I had to play my evil. So that's exactly what you want. You want the deploying the center line missions with the bombs. You want so Breakthrough, and also the Maelstrom. You want the birds for the Seize the Prizes. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is a Jake list, I would say.
Yeah, he went 49-0 in terms of VPs. He is insane. Like that was a thing. And he played against a lot of good players as well. Like so he played obviously yourself, Dave, and Ed's ball. So 2 of the very well top players ever in the league. I don't think that's a special statement. And then he played 4 Scottish players, all of whom are. So he played Mark Capewell, who's been podiuming and winning tons of events this year. He played who else did he play? I'm forgetting. I'm going to forget someone. Jamie Marty Sanderson, who's at least won a 90, got a few podiums. Jamie Baxter, you might have seen. He's probably list maybe a couple of thirds or something, but player. Ian McGregor, probably arguably a successful player, at least in the Scottish scene, over the last the tournament wins. So he didn't have any. And to go
no, I mean that's pretty crazy. To be fair, he did something similar at a tournament recently where the VPs were very, very high. Because he actually had the same tournament points scored. It was 4 major wins, a minor win, and a draw.
Yeah,
he had the far superior, as you just alluded to, far superior VP diff.
His draw was weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw that happen on the table next to me. So 0-0. Yeah. So that also importantly, this win makes it mathematically impossible to catch Jake at the top of the league in the last 2. There's 2 more hundreds to go this year, but that means that either myself or Jakob or Ed, who I think, or Ben Haslam. I don't know if Ben's coming to the southwest, but I think myself, Jakob, and Ed are all doing the next 2 hundreds. And even if we won, either any one of us won both of them, it still wouldn't be enough to do better than second place. So congratulations are in order. 2 in a row. I guess it remains to be seen how many wins he'll end up with this year, but it could be the finale with big, I guess. Remains to be seen. Congratulations. Obviously, I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. Would have been nice to take it a bit further this year, like last year, went to the finale, but I think this means it's a little bit less devastating when things don't go your way. So I guess I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the chance that the GBHL committee could come up with an emergency tournament, just with a few weeks' notice to...
Just in my living room, yeah.
I am, of course, joking. We're not going to do that.
Well, there's 3 here. I mean, that's almost something.
Yeah, that's sending off the edition in a fire of demolition team smoke, I suppose.
Yeah, I watched that. I saw some of that, the top table game against Ian, and it was rough. It was just the Wahir and Boromir both got blown up. It lasted not a long time. I think it was a bit of a tough one to take for Ian because you probably alluded to earlier the English players coming up and pillaging our hundreds. But
the Grand Army of the South does come up north to the kingdom of Arnor and sacks the place semi-regularly.
Yeah,
we had a Scottish winner. Scouring had a Scottish second place actually, and that was probably as close as it's come to have someone top table in the last game, and then blown up by 2 bombs.
Someday, Stirlingshire will have a Scottish winner.
One day, maybe.
Restore a king to the crown. Restore a Scot to the throne of Stirling.
Yeah, we'll also return the Stone of Scone or Scone or whichever one it is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move on?
Let's move on to another northern country, which was also terrorized by the English, kind of, but not really. We're going to look at the OSBGL, which is the Ontario Strategy Battle Game League Teams Championship, which was a 4-person teams event in Ontario, specifically Black Knight Games in Hamilton, which is actually one of the southernmost towns in Canada. I had a look on the map, and it's actually, there's a little divot just above where the Niagara Falls are.
Yeah, that's where Toronto is.
Yeah, so it's just south of Toronto, I think. It was actually not weekend just gone, the weekend before, but I did very kindly have Mr. Matty Lockwood send me all of the results and lists and information and tournament pack and pictures as well. So I could hardly not put it on the podcast, especially after our slightly scathing words of previous Canadian lists. Hopefully we'll like these ones a little bit.
Canadian, those lists that you were scathing on.
The one that caused the argument was American, I think. Could be wrong.
Was it?
No, I think he's Canadian.
I don't know. Apologies for getting that wrong. I know people get very touchy about that.
Tio was Derek Satnick, who I believe has been around in the North American community for a long ass time. Because I think I met him, I want to say, or at least made friends with him online like about 10 years ago. Most sporting team was Only Howlers, and Best Craft was also Only Howlers, with some really cool boards, which we're going to see in a little bit. I say a little bit, I mean literally right now. They had a 4 seasons continuous display board set up.
Oh, wow.
Where they had, in order from top to bottom, we've got Corsairs of Umbar, which is spring. We've got Rivendell Knights, which is summer. We've got Mordor and Spider Queen, which is autumn. And we've got Isengard, which is winter. And you can see there's a kind of progression of the seasons and the trees throughout the boards, which is, which is just really cool. We've also got Corsair players do this a lot, but they actually made ships.
The black ships are classic additions to the display board. Very cool.
I've never seen a team one where it was as themed as that and all the armies combined together. Really.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the way it just fully flows together. It's pretty seamless.
Pretty goated.
Yeah. It's also, I would say they're quite competitive lists, or at least the Mordor Spider Queen, the Rivendell Knights. I'm not entirely sure what was in the Isengard one, but
I would say Isengard is definitely solid, and Corsairs is definitely solid. Enough to be in the team's event for sure.
Yeah. Nice to see Rivendell Knights doing well as well, because
nice to see.
Yeah. Picking up most sporting as well.
Yeah, picking up most sporting.
Mordor Spider Queen.
with those lists takes some sporting skill. So well done, gentlemen.
So beast.
Yeah, really cool. Moving on to the lists, we're only actually going to look at the top 4 lists, because otherwise we'd have 12 lists to go through, which is the equivalent of 4 tournaments. So
2 scourings.
Yes, 2 scourings, or 1 of the Fright Night at Fangorn doubles events.
Oh yeah,
which was a lot of lists.
I was at that. It was good.
Yeah.
Very well.
Shout out again, Jack. First place.
So these are the winning. These are the winning team.
The winning team lists.
Okay.
So this list went 5-0. And
5 games. Is it 5 games?
5 games. It was 5 games. 2.5 hour rounds for anyone who was not paying attention.
That's about right for 800, especially within a team's event.
It's also random in pools, and it was essentially a standard draft format. We're not going to go into an explanation for that, because there's videos and explanations online, and we'll just confuse you if we talk to you without full diagrams. So Mr. Mike Collins, who was the protected list, as in the one that they'd always used the drafting format to look after, was a pure Angmar list. Witch King with 3 additional might, 4 additional will, 3 additional fates, horse and crown of Morgul, so relatively standard build. Angmar Orc Warrior with shield banner, 6 warriors with shield, 6 with shield spear, and a Deadmarsh Spectre. We've got Gullivar, everyone's favourite flappy boy, with Angmar Warg Rider with shield and 2 Wild Wargs. A Barrow-wight with 3 orcs with spear, 2 orcs with 2-handed weapon, and 1 orc with shield. And then an orc captain on Warg with shield with 2 2-handed weapons. Sorry, that's not right. I've completely biffed that. It's 2 2-handed weapons, 4 with bow, and 3 with spear. Apologies, that's an error on my part. Importantly, one thing I did need to mention is that the event wasn't good versus evil. It was just take 4 lists.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Okay, so 36 models Angmar seems quite low to me as a first thought, but this is 700 points. So if you're running the Witch King and Gullivar and a captain and a Barrow-wight, you are unfortunately going to run into this problem. I've always say this, but I don't like the shield on the Warg Rider captain, but just because he's not a heavy cavalry guy. He's a chancer and also a cheapo value guy. So I'd rather have shields on some more orcs, like more spear shield orcs. He's got a few. I'm also not a big fan of two-handed weapon orcs. I know some people like them. I think 4 bows is not a bad idea, just because they're not going to do anything really. But occasionally you'll get an opportunity to be like, oh, I'll shoot that. Like they'll be just behind your lines, and there'll be like a Boromir charging, and you've got nothing else you can do, and you're like, well, I'll shoot a Boromir. And then you hit like once and you go through in the way and it goes down and it hits the horse and kills it. And you're like, yay. And you're like, 24 points of orcs didn't really do anything all tournament. But if they ever do that, it's super valuable. It's like just giving yourself something to do in the shooting phase. I once played an 80 model Angmar horde that had 1 bow, and that 1 bow predictably killed my Witch King's horse, which meant he got killed by Gulliver. So,
yeah,
it'll happen.
It's
being able to protect the list from shooting is really good as well with pairings.
Yeah, if you can get the right matchup for this list where the troop line isn't going to get completely walked through, and Gulliver and the Witch King can do their business.
The two ones are actually okay against paralyze when you have paralyzed.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think you need 4 of them for that. Personally.
Yeah,
2 in the Battle White Warbands probably, and then Steve.
Yeah, exactly. Like a couple of executioners is pretty neat.
It does strike a bit as like an 800-point list that's just missing a lot of troops. But
yes, it should be 50 models is how I'm looking at it, and it should be 800 points.
Personally, I wouldn't. I mean, if you're going to use Witch King and Gully at 700, you need to have either a slightly smaller Witch King, like lose the fate on the Witch King, lose the shield on the Angmar Orc Captain. Like that's 2 guys right there. You need to bulk up those numbers as much as you can. Also, only 1 Spectre is a bit sad. I think I'd almost rather go all in on having Gully. Personally, I like having captains as caddies and caddies and mites too much. So I probably would drop the Barrow White, but I understand that Barrow Whites are like a lot of people's favorite thing about this list at the minute. So
yeah,
I've played something similar at 700 points, doing exactly what you said, Dave. Dropping the Barrow White, taking more lads. You get decent numbers with it. Gulliver can still kind of run amok.
Yeah, 700 is probably just the cusp of where you're finding things which can actually deal with him. He probably at 700 has relatively free reign as long as you protect him correctly. It's unlikely that there's going to be 2 or 3 lists in the opponent's matchup who can actually, deal with, ignore him or shoot him off the board.
It makes sense that they've said this is the list that they want to protect. Get in the right matchup. I think it's really good, but it would be better at 800 with another 100 points of troops. I think you would be slightly less matchup dependent there.
Yeah, but like we said, as a teams event, they've read the pack and gone, this will do the business.
Gully with the magic support can make people very sad by people.
Gully's like hits like an absolute truck. It's like, what if you win a fight? It's like, cool, that's 10 strikes at strength 8.
Yeah, I think I saw a Gulliver at the weekend take down a heroic defensing Galadriel in 1 turn.
So that's unlucky, but I mean, like,
I saw the opposite at the weekend, and I saw a Gulliver run in and only do like 4 wounds to the Galadriel.
I was playing Gully. Sorry, not playing Gully. I was playing James Goebel, and I had an Iron Guard survive. I think I told you, Dave. 36 strikes from being trapped for 3 turns in a row. This regular Iron Guard just didn't die. I think it was the 36th dice to wound killed him, took him down.
I feel like I need to give that guy like a little extra paint job or put.
I'd like that. He's a hero
of
sorts.
Yeah. Sitting in a separate bit in my case to remind me to do.
Retire the model.
Exactly.
Moving to the next of the lists, Josh Heron, who went 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, with a Lothlorien Rohan Fellowship alliance. So it's Galadriel with 1 warrior with banner spear, 2 with shield, 6 with shield spear, 4 warriors with spear and bow, and 4 guard of the Glathrin Court with and a Wood Elf Sentinel, and then Theodred with horse and shield. Boo, shield. 3 warriors of Rohan with throwing spears and shield, 7 warriors of Rohan with shield, 4 Rohan Outwarders, and 1 Rohan Royal Guard with horse. And then finally, everyone's favorite hand grenade, Boromir with horse and shield.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always say this, but I don't normally bother with the shields on these guys. Having said that, these warbands are both full, so
yeah, You're
what are
not
you gonna
getting.
do? I guess you can have some Royal Guards instead of Warriors, which I actually would like here. I think D6 helps an awful lot. It gives you a lot more things you can do. So like the shields on Theodred, like Theodred's shield is okay because he's so vulnerable. Like Theodred, you put him into two Morannons, you call a heroic combat, you roll a 4 high, and Morannon gets a 6, they both roll a 5, and you just die. And it's like, oh, you know. I think on Theodred more so than Orc Captain and Boromir, because Boromir that's never going to happen to because he'll just might it up. Whereas Theodred is a very real possibility. Yeah, I'd like to see
like
some
this
Royal
list
Guard.
on the whole, though.
Yeah, I like it. It's similar to the Galadriel Theodred Guahir list we've seen, but instead of Guahir, it's Boromir, which is like when you get something on online, you order something online shopping and they replace some like your monsters with Mountain Dews or something. This is like that. Your Guahir has been replaced with the Boromir of Gondor, but in this case, he does fulfill the marching requirement that you don't have with the Guahir Theodred version, which I like because I love March. Me and March were like this. Another thing is, I think Galadriel Warriors with Spear and Shield are a bit unfortunate just because Galadriel and Galadriel Court are only 1 point more. And if you can get that, just get them because the pikes are just awesome.
Yeah, Pike and Fight 6 is just so cheeky.
He's got a Sentinel, which I think is cool.
He could match his bows in both war ones, but I don't know if that's what this list is trying to do, so it's not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, it's got enough shooting to be a threat with Galadriel's blinding light up, but he also obviously wanted a bit more fighting. I'd like to see some more D6 on the front line, personally, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
Approval.
Big thumbs up. Hey, look, we're liking Canadian lists.
Well, I mean, this is like, I was like, why is this so much weaker than all that? I was like, of course, you can run it myself. It's 700 points.
Yeah.
So this is like the smaller version of that, and I think this is pretty cool. If anything, I'd be tempted to run something similar at a 700 point tournament.
This is
in 800. I always, anytime I see a 700 point list, I'm like, it just looks really, really small.
Yeah, looks a bit. Yeah.
At least, certainly in Scotland. Anyway, I don't know how many of the hundreds this year down south have been 700s, but I feel 700 is not a points value I write very frequently.
Yeah, there was a lot at the beginning of this year. There was like, because at the end of last year there was loads of 800s, and everyone was like, "I'll be different. I'll do 700," and then there was like 5 700 point events in the span of 2 months or something stupid. 3 months maybe.
So we had Into the West small, GP small, GT was 700.
GT is 700.
Grey Havens.
The Grey Havens was 701.
Was 700.
The Bath Bubbles list was 700. The Masters was 700. The Wolf Slayer was also 700. There was a lot of them in the first half of the year.
Yeah, there was. There were a couple of bigger ones sprinkled here and there, but yeah, there was a lot of 700. I agree with you. Actually, it does just feel like 800, but 800's little brother. It makes you
You still got.
I mean, I have
this. I do agree. Actually, I like this list a lot as well. I think this is something I would consider taking to an upcoming 700 point event in the Southwest region. Spoilers, maybe. Who knows?
No, I think it ticks enough boxes to be good. I like it.
Yeah. Let's have a look at their third list, if I can get the screen to work. Mr. Matty Lockwood, the man who sent in the results himself, with his Halls of Thranduil, Erebor Reclaimed, and Survivors of Lake Town Freeway Green Alliance. So he's got a very heavy Thranduil with horse, additional sword, Circlet of Kings, and heavy armor. He's got 2 Palace Guard with Spit Shield, 1 Wood Elf Sentinel, 4 Mirkwood Elves with Bow and Glaive, 5 with Just Glaive, a Mirkwood Cav with Shield, 4 Mirkwood Elves with Shield, and a Palace Guard with Shield, Spear, and Banner. We've got Thorin, King Under the Mountain with Orcrist and War Goats, and 1 Goat Rider, and then a Lake Town Militia Captain for that really cheap march with 10 Militia with Shield and 2 with Bow Spear.
Wait, the Militia have shields? The Militia are the front line, are they?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I think I would do this the other way around. I would be like, let's have Shield Elves at the front and then Spear, Lake Town behind.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, because like that saves you points. I mean, have a couple of glaives, or like 1 or 2 glaives, like glaives on your bows or something. Yeah, I mean, I like this list actually. This is pretty cool. 34 models is a bit small, but actually this is pretty elite. And if you can protect it from heavy shooting, this is going to be pretty good. Because a lot of that is going to get +1 to wound. Late-time militia captain's a great value for 40 points. Thorin, I think the Goat Riders, I'd rather have the Mercury Cav, but actually, like, that's fine because Thranduil's Warband is full. I'm not really a big Orcrist enjoyer, but if it's that or like 1 extra guy, or you could get spears for your Lake Town.
Orcrist is 10 points, so you could get 2 more Lake Town militia.
Except you can't because the warband's full. You could get another dwarf or something. I think this is fine. A fine list to have Orcrist in. Personally, I would change the front line to be the elves rather than and then have the militia behind, because that's just harder.
What's your reasoning for that, Dave? Is it just
D6.
high defense value?
Yeah, exactly right. D6 at the front.
Yeah.
Do you feel the pain more if things start to go not your way, or do you just have to eat that? And if things don't go your way,
this list is always going to feel the pain if things don't go your way. Like, that front line is going to fall apart extremely quickly, and then you're going to find yourself not having a front line. Like if you've just played against a Dragon Emperor list or something, for example, and they just happen to win a few roll-offs, or the weight of dice just got on top of you, those D5 militias are going to die at light speed, you know?
Especially if, as the game always does, when it breaks down and the battle lines break up, if those militia get isolated, they are fight 2 and very squishy.
The other thing is, you could also get another couple of guys if you drops the horse as well on Thranduil. I understand why people want the horse on Thranduil. I don't think it's necessary though.
Yeah, so Matty did actually mention in his messages, he said specifically, he's now a Thranduil horse enjoyer. He honestly felt the benefit because of maneuverability across the line, and also just big heroes charging in, and he's not worried about getting knocked down. Because obviously, if a big hero charges in and you're on foot and you're D6 and they strike and you biff it, Thranduil can just die in 1 turn to a strength 4 lance hero. Obviously, you've got the defense, but yeah. So yeah, I agree. It's light on numbers, but it does feel like it does a lot of things, which is quite nice.
I think this is a solid list. I think I'd probably tweak it, but like the concept 37 rules with these 3 heroes, I like.
I really want to. This is a list that I own but have never played. I really hope it survives. It should survive the new edition, you'd hope.
Some version of this alliance would hopefully be available.
Yeah.
The goat survive.
Also, Thorin on goat might not survive.
Yeah. That would be
Thranduil on horse. Thranduil on horse we know doesn't survive. That one's confirmed.
Does Thranduil not initially turn up on horse, or does he definitely turn up on?
No, he's always on an elk at all times.
In the movie,
the only time you see him mounted in the movie is on an elk.
What about when he turns up? When Smaug is attacking Erebor?
He's on an elk.
He's an elk as well.
Yeah. He's like, look at that! Look at my big elk.
Look, we've come all this way. We've travelled like tens or hundreds of miles.
They look and they go like, "Tough break, kid," and they walk up. It's like, ooh.
The Battle of the 5 Armies dodgy CGI battle was one of my favourite battles in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think it's good fun. It's not good battle tactics, but it's
like
good
an
fun.
hour and a half long. I don't know how anyone could be asked to watch it.
I fucking love it when they jump over the shields.
I've always been a dwarf hater. Sorry, Dave. I know you're going to leave now. But the moment where they charge out and Thorin calls Dubakar and it goes slow-mo and Dane's like, "To the king!" That swapped me completely over.
The fact they just sack off all the armor they've spent the first half of the movie putting it on, and then they're like, "Fuck it,
Pants only. Woo!
Thranduil's just like, goodbye, heavy armor. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, everyone in your undies. Let's go.
Anyway, battle that benefits the most from being an extended edition, like that movie, just in general.
Yeah,
well, it's barely anything without it. You know, you don't even get to see Thorin's funeral.
Yeah. It's more like the Battle of Four Armies without the extended edition.
It's not entirely clear in the movies what the armies actually are.
Men, elves, dwarves, goblins, and orcs, and eagles, and bears, and hobbits.
Yeah, and also the giant worm eater things? Question mark? Is that an army? I don't know.
Does it fight, or is it a transport method? I think that's the bus rather than the actual. Yeah. Let's move on to the fourth and last list from the winning team. This was Carter Julius, who was.
Oh my god!
I know, right? This list, and the way Matt put it was the rock list. We would like to refer to it as the bus list. The kind of the doorstop. This is a 700 point Host of the Dragon Emperor list, which is my current flavor of the month, kind of. Dragon Emperor of Rune with 17 Pike Shield Black Dragons, a Eastling Cataphract with Black Dragon and War Drum, Rutabi with 7 Eastling Roars with Shield and 3 with Shield Pike, and an Eastling Captain with 6 Eastling Roars with Shield and 3 Shield Pikes. I have played exactly this list at a 700 point event this year.
This is what I would consider the missionary construction of Host of the Dragon Emperor. Like bang on, straight down the middle. Basically, the only thing I've ever seen that's sort of different at 700 that I think is basically a complete choice for the dealer is like Ben Haslam does sometimes, taking his basically for maxing out absolute value of his Black Dragon Pikes, he'll put the Cataphract Drum in Rutabi's warband or the Captain's warband, so that you can have one more Pike Black Dragon, but it doesn't really matter. You've only got 6 Pikes that aren't Black Dragons anyway. They're going to be directly behind the front line. They'll be the first to die, so it doesn't matter. You know, unless you beef your deployment in some funny way, you're always going to have Black Dragons at the back. So, yeah, it's a really good list. Frighteningly effective.
It went 1-4 at the event.
Whoa!
I think this was just the list which they always put down first because it is just the take all comers list. It's good for giving small losses in really bad scenarios. It has very few losing matchups, I would say, from playing it a lot. The only things you really got to watch out for are like ballistas and bombs and fight 6 lines or strength 4 lines with fight 5 backup. This is how you probably should run the list at 700, as Dave said. You swap the Cataphract into Rutabi's warband is an option to kind of give you flexibility. There's discussion on whether you could swap Rutabi for another captain, but I think she just provides so much value in the list, and otherwise you don't have any killing power beyond just weight of dice. This is just what the optimal take all comers 700 point list looks like. You may not agree with it, but it's the truth.
Yeah, if you're putting out first, there really isn't like that are going to give it real headaches.
Sorry, Dave. I think we lost you a bit there.
And if you're putting out first, then there's unlikely to be 2 armies in another team that's going to give it any real headaches.
Yeah, exactly. It's good with not breaking. It's got good numbers. It's D6 all the way through. Big old banner. Leader's very hard to get to or kill because it's the bloody Dragon Emperor with his D7 and 3 wounds and 3 fate and defense and resolve and resistant to magic and everything else. Just a very solid list.
That's very good.
Yeah. That is the end of the lists. We are just going to quickly move on to the comments. I think yes, good. Right. So firstly, we've got Freaky Fish Guy 1692 who says, "Hey guys, any news on new bat reps? Love them. Something I've blocked with my top of of my Zoom part. Apologies. I understand if there isn't any available options to film then anymore, but I was wondering if I missed something. It is just kind of availability to film. I do now have a setup at home. I do have 2 bat reps on the editing floor at the moment.
I'm able to drive again.
Yeah,
I might be able to record something with Stephen. It's just been difficult.
Drive to Cambridge, Dave. Film one with me.
Yeah, it is just a matter of actually getting together.
We're all over the place these days.
We have also just been doing loads and loads of events, and when you're doing weekend events, the desire to play midweek and also film, which can take 3 or 4 hours, when you've also got to go to work and also eat and then go back to your respective homes, it's not the most convenient. Like I said, I do have a couple in the can, which I will probably edit at some point. I'm not going to say I'm going to get them up for a certain point, but yeah, hopefully something before Christmas. Also a tournament vlog, which is about halfway done now. 4 Farthings Gaming says, great video as always, lads. Hope you cover the OSBGL Teams Championship from the previous weekend. Matthew Lockwood sent Stephen the info. Yes, he did. Yes, I covered
Who's
it.
Stephen? Whoa!
Whoa! You spelt my name wrong. I'm so offended. I'm not offended, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, always send us stuff. I would say apologies to the Middlesbrough lot and Jack Thurlbeck. They also sent me the results from their 80 from last weekend. We just haven't had time to add that.
I was intrigued to see that the Middlesbrough gang are running one of the first hundreds of the new edition.
Yes, they are.
Which is pretty intriguing. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. I think in January my ability to take time off is extremely limited. And in Middlesbrough, I'd have to really look at how to do that journey. So I'm probably not going to be able to go, unfortunately. But if it had been a bit later in the year, I almost certainly would have tried to go.
I'm very tempted because I've heard lots of good things about their events, and
I like to try out all the hundreds if I can, because
so I kind of see
it's that one.
What did you say? Sorry, 900 points.
19th of January or 19th and 20th, that sort of weekend.
Yeah, 18th to 19th of January next year.
Right, yeah, it's 2 weeks, the third weekend of the year or something.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks after Into the West.
Would you go to that, David? I mean, it's probably not that far for you by comparison. Like that's more like a normal drive.
Yeah, quite close, which is a shame because unfortunately that's the weekend of the first ever Scottish Masters.
Oh, that's unlucky. That's a shame because I'm sure plenty of Scots would have come down.
Yeah, that's a 3.5-hour drive from Glasgow.
Yeah, it's not far. It's a pity that it clashes because most of the people would be interested in going to something like that.
Yeah, the Masters,
the Scottish Masters isn't registered as is it an invitational event?
Yeah, it can't be because it's invitational, so it's the top Scottish players.
Gotcha.
The top Scots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm considering trying to work out how to get up there, because Middlesbrough, I think, might be the most northern place in England I've ever visited.
But you've never visited Berwick-upon-Tweed?
I don't think so.
Embarrassing.
POQ, I'm going to say Pox Gaming 5929 says, "Hey guys, great video and discussion as always. I hope you do keep releasing a video each week. Always a good listen." Well, womp womp. Apologies about last week. Wondered if you'd cover the results and lists of the GBHL 80 up in Middlesbrough this weekend. Gondor in 60 seconds. Double womp womp. Apologies, sir. We've really let you down there. Unfortunately, life does get in the way. We do this as kind of like a side hobby, so apologies. Got my second GBHL podium with a slightly quirky Mordor list, using as much legacy stuff as I could, but struggling to maximize victory points. And believe it's to do with mobility. Tried a drummer for the first time, but seemed to be wasted
like
points.
An orc drummer?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't say, but one can assume. So the interesting thing about Mordor is the problem with Mordor drummers, unless you use a troll drummer, none of them will affect everything in Mordor, because you've got men, you've got spirits, you've got orcs, and you've got Uruk-hai. If you're being a badass and using Mordor, Uruk-hai, and Blackguard and all that stuff, there's the hilarious Blackguard drummer, which is probably the most useless profile in the whole game, or one of up there with the Angmar Shaman, just because that is never going to affect anything you want to affect apart from Shagrat.
Yeah.
which is fun. The problem with the drummer heroes is they tend to they're an infinite heroic march, but they're a lot less flexible. So it's 12-inch bubble. You kind of, I think the orc drummer has a few legs if you're using an orc spam list. So you run like Kardish and Gothmog and stuff. You maximize your orc bonuses. I know Ali King likes to run his list like that with Morgul Stalkers. Also rip the Morgul Stalkers. But I don't think drums are ever essential. They're mainly a trick if you want to try and close ground extremely quickly. If you're using a list that's vulnerable to shooting, you're like, right, I'll use my march and my drum, and I'm going to move 12 inches with my whole army, which is can be hard to deal with. You mentioned Destroy the Supplies and To the Death. Both of those drummers are excellent in, because if you want to close the gap, you're deploying 24 inches apart. You basically half the number of turns you need to turn. You need to, almost half the number of turns you need to slog up the board. So.
Yeah, so I just had a quick look at my messages with Jack Thurbeck. This is actually Adam Bird, who I had the pleasure of playing out on number tiers. So shout out Adam. The list is actually Dark Marshal, Razgush, and Musgur, with a few Blackguard, a Bat Swarm, and an Orc Drummer. There isn't actually a banner in the list, so playing Destroy the Supplies and To the Death is and still podiuming is pretty respectable, I would say, given that you're playing with a 2 VP deficit in those. So well done.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Also, using Blackguard of Barad-dûr is just Giga Chad mode, because nobody uses those. They're really cool models, and they deserve some love. But
a little bit goofy, a little bit cool, a little bit wacky.
Massive shields. They're basically carrying around the Mordor siege bow shield with them, which is quite fun.
Painted and 4 that have sat on painted, and I haven't used them for a single game in this edition.
Are they getting legacied? I think they are. Right?
I think they are.
Mordor Okai staying there at least, so you could always just use them as Mordor Okai if legacy profiles. I mean, they'll still have profiles eventually for legacies. They've said that all the legacy stuff's getting a profile, so fingers crossed. The only stuff that's getting removed will be like options for things that were never actually given models, which is a bit concerning for horses and such.
Oh, moving on to the next comment. Mark O'Brien 2481 says, indefensible pick To the Death, can't deny it. Only reason I could think was that there was a forest or two Jake could have deployed in, which spooked me and my riders enough to veto Lords. Still not a good choice, but at least I only lost 10-0 instead of 12-0 thanks to no Lake Town banner. Ain't that the truth, brother? Didn't get 12-0. Small victories. Lovely to see you again at the weekend as well, Mark. Thanks for the comment.
I met him twice this year, actually. First time was in Belfast, but I had a proper chance to chat to him and actually play against him at Fangorn. Nice guy.
Yeah. Like the way he just kind of gets up and down the country and just over to Ireland and up to Scotland. And I'm just like, Mark, what are you doing playing in this region? You're in the southwest. You live in central Bristol. Love to see it. Michael Haskell 2155 says, sort of thinking out loud here, right? Shout out Ed Sheeran. With the new edition, should the bulk of the UK tournaments, initially at least, revert to being more standard, e.g. no veto, no unusual points, no extras or unusual aspects? Or is the sheer variety in tournaments seen to be continued as it could lengthen the time it takes to work out the new meta and thus keep things fresher? Thoughts?
I think that will just happen because people will want to be focusing on the new rules, because the rules will have changed, so they don't want to be fretting about custom scenarios as much, that kind of thing. I think that is probably what I would expect. That is what happened last time.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard a few people suggesting, like, what if we do an old edition game in the new edition, like, as a kind of a throwback to old army list construction. I was like, that's probably not a good idea to suggest that, at least in the first 6 months, just because people actually have to learn the new game before they start reminiscing about the old one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure the way it will work is TOs will, as the year goes through, will realize kind of what people want to go to and then cater to that. I know a certain number of events have already been, booked in, but obviously that can all change. Everything can change as people come up. So if nobody likes, let's say, and this is probably unlikely because it's a great event and Matt King is a great TO, if nobody likes the format of Into the West this year or next year coming, events like that won't be run if people don't like a specific thing about it. because people vote with their wallets and their feet, and people talk about events and go, oh, I didn't like this bit, I did like this bit. And that's the beauty of having a community that communicates with each other generally, is if you know what people like, you'll run a successful tournament. Sam AJ Barker says, hi guys, always love your podcast. Could Dave review this list for an upcoming tournament I'm going to? I've seen him play similar things. Thanks. Dave, hit it.
He's got 849 points. If this is an 850-point tournament, you already know what you've done wrong there.
Yeah.
Spend all your points. I'm just looking at this. Like so if you want to figure out if it actually is 849, then sorry. But the most obvious thing to me is turn a Glathrim Warrior with Spirit Shield into another Glathrim Court Guard. And then drop the shield off Boromir and then do that same thing again 5 more times, or turn those Wood Elf Warriors into Glathrim Warriors because they're like only 1 point more.
1 point more, yeah.
And it's like 2 extra defense. It's just better.
Yeah.
Wood Elf Spears aren't good enough to justify being 2 defense lower, in my opinion, because you're almost dead. You know, if they're getting on your archers without anyone to help them out, you're probably in trouble anyway. This is looking at this. So for the listeners, this is described as a Rohan Minister of the Shire, the Fellowship of Lothlorien. Is there something cut off this? Because I can't see anything.
No, I don't think there is. I had to zoom out for this comment because of getting it.
Let me just quickly check YouTube.
I think it means fellowship, but I'm just going to double check.
But he already says fellowship.
Yeah, I think he sees Boromir of Gondor, and maybe he get.
He does have the Gondor keyword, but also I don't see any.
No, that's the entire comment.
That's the entire list. Okay. Yeah. So ignore the minister. It's 850 points. Theoden, with all the trimmings apart from the armored horse, just regular horse. 4 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spears. Merry, Captain of the Shire, pony and shield. That's how I'd like to take Merry. And he's got 15 max warband, 15 Hobbit militia, battling Brownie Black, Farmer Maggot with the dogs, and then max Hobbit archers. That's how I like. If I'm running a 2 warband Shire contingent, that's how I do it. Those 2 are pretty good value together. And then Boromir of Gondor, Mike Caddy. I think the thing that stands out to me here is Theoden, to be honest. I think the only reason I'd use Theoden here over Theodred is if you want to avoid Galadriel being your leader, which is presumably why you've done that. I think Fight 5 isn't as valuable when you're using a Yellow Alliance and you've got Galadriel stuff because, well, you've essentially got an anvil of a Hobbit blob and then some elves behind it, and then you've got a hammer of Rohan cavalry with Boromir. It definitely can. This definitely could work. I think you'll find that this is going to be a bit small. It doesn't seem small, but hobbits are pathetic at holding up well against tough stuff.
Merry's got the Horn of the Shire, Horn of the Riddermark, right?
It's Horn of the Riddermark, gives all the hobbits +1 courage. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Royal Guard in concept, but you've got a lot of courage 5 in the list at the moment.
I think I'd probably give it, unless there's a real risk of contest and you're afraid of contest, I'd probably have Theodred over Theoden and make Galadriel the leader. Probably consider dropping a couple of guys. You can drop a couple of hobbits and make those Wood Elf Warriors into Galadriel Warriors, and then drop the shield on Boromir because he doesn't need it. Throw in some more Galadriel Court Guard after you've turned the Wood Elves into. Oh, actually, you don't have a Sentinel. I'd try and get a Sentinel if I was you. Actually, the easiest way to do that, you drop 2 Hobbit militia, the battling Brandy Bucks. You drop Boromir's shield, and then you turn a Wood Elf Warrior into with spear and bow into a Sentinel, and then you spend those extra 2 points on turning Galadriel Warriors into Court Guard or Wood Elves into Galadriel Warriors. This is your choice.
There we go.
Yeah, that's how I would do it. You'll probably find 54 models feels like a lot, but actually it goes down quite quickly. So keep that in mind.
When you've got that many D3 hobbits and dogs.
Also, you want to have enough Galadriel Court Guard that you can leave 2 behind Farmer Maggot at all times because he's a beast if you do that.
Yeah, the 2-handing is cheeky.
It is very cheeky. Love it.
Brick1 says, hi guys. Sorry, hello folks, not hi guys. 500-point tournament coming up. I wanted to hear your thoughts on my list. I'll be terribly disappointed if Dave doesn't shred it to pieces. This is going to be the new thing. People will come up to you at events with a list, give it to you, and hope you just rip it up in front of them. 500-point host of the Witch King. Witch King of Angmar with Horse, 3 Might, 2 Fate, a Will, one additional Will, and a Morgul Blade. 4 Orcs with Shield, 4 with Spear, a Wild Rider with Throwing Spears and Shield. Shadow of Rudar, 5 Orcs with Shield, 5 with Spear, an Orc with Spear and Banner, and a Spectre, and an Orc Captain with Shield, 5 Orcs with Shield, 5 with Spear, a Spectre, and another Wild Rider with Shield and Throwing Spears. Drop the Morgul Blade, mate. It's 500 points. Anything that'll actually you need it for.
I'm kind of back and forth on this actually, because in this list, in the host of the Witch King, I actually think the Morgul Blade is an alright choice. It's the only time I'll say that, because I think the Morgul Blade is a stupendous waste of points a lot of the time. But in this list specifically, it kind of has nothing that can deal with. You don't have a big killer of any kind. Like the Witch King is all you've got, and you probably find you can get some use out of it. At 500 points, you probably could do without it. I think maybe.
Isn't the thing is though, if you need a Morgul Blade to kill something, you could just be Shadow of Rudaring and Drain Couraging it.
Yeah, I guess. I think the Shadow is I don't know if he's going to be the best choice here.
He's quite expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 Might as well. Also, get rid of that shield on that Angmar Captain before I screech.
Yeah, disgusting.
Get rid of it.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
It was one of yours.
People for putting shields on Orc Captains more than basically anything else in this list section, but also adding up your points to exact numbers. This is also a 10 Will Witch King, so that's a very obvious change. I think actually this at 500 points is pretty good. I think this is all right. I think immediately change that shield into another Will for the Witch King, because he hasn't got any. Or maybe that's 11 Will, I can't quite tell. For 100
It's 11 Will, yeah. It's
is it?
Yeah, they won. It does have Will just written next to it.
William.
Maybe it is 0 Will.
Well, it's hard to I'm trying to work it out, but without the crown, all of my mental maths on the Witch King factor in the crown, so I'm like, what? This is essentially a 1 through 5 Witch King plus the Morgul Blade and no crown, which is like which is a very budget, which means he must have gone for this is 11 Will. Yeah. So I'd get 12. Yeah, I honestly I think this is all right.
Yeah,
I think your background is a bit weenie. You could go with the shade. I like the shade, and I think it's essentially gives you an additional 3-ish might for your casting, which helps with the amount of will you have to use. Your Witch King isn't going to waste will when he wins combat, which means you can get away with less will. So, but also the Shadow has 2 might built in, so I actually think the Shadow is also good in that regard. But also I like might a lot. I've said honestly a lot here, but I think this is a decent list, to be honest.
What is quite disgusting is in the bottom of his comment below, he does say, I'm especially interested in your opinion in the Witch King's loadout. Do you value the Morgul Blade? Maybe Armored Horse.
I don't value armored horses when you have the option to not have an armored horse.
Yeah.
That may change in the new edition, but also here's an interesting fact. Did you know in the host of the Witch King, the Tainted can take an armored horse despite not being able to take an armored horse in his regular profile?
That's mad.
That's awesome.
That's correct. I don't think he can have one in his regular profile, but I'm now going to double check that because I said that with confidence.
I feel like if that lets show that your meta doesn't have a lot of shooting, then but I think the shade would be better if you.
Yeah, the shade covers the shooting factor quite a lot, and you probably won't have too many. Like if they have anything so big that you need 2 casters to handle it, like because the Shadow is good at like piling onto heroes more than anything. I think really.
There's a couple of shooting armies that would be rubbing their hands against that. But living a meta where shooting is less common, terrain's more dense and stuff, then
I'd like to retract my comments about the Tainted Armored Horse. He didn't used to be able to have an Armored Horse in the old edition, but he can in this edition. I'll shut my mouth. Zip.
Get back in your box.
Yeah, I'll get back in the box.
Last 2 comments are from the only JP one. He says, daily podcast when? And a response from Farmer David 577. He says, how did you get out of your box? Indeed.
Who the hell could that be?
No idea who either of those could be.
Yes.
So that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, thanks, especially to David for coming along to listen. To be here.
I did also, but no, cheers for having me on, guys. So I enjoy watching it as well, so I do listen. But no, it's been nice to be on.
A pillar of the community for longer than the GBHL's existed. We take our hats off to you.
Yeah,
I doff my cap.
So. I doff. If I ever wore a hat, I would take it off to you now.
Yeah, no, and cheers for coming up at the weekend as well, Dave. It was good to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be there. I think I maybe overplayed my knee a little bit. I think I did a bit too much walking. Like, it's all very well being like, oh yeah, the pub's only 10 minutes away, but actually that's quite a long way.
Yeah, it's
not a long way, but it is a long way, if you know what I mean. On someone who had surgery as recently as I did. So yeah, I don't regret it though. A bit of ice has helped my knee a great deal.
Good. Well, thank you everyone for coming along to listen. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and support your Hobbit hobby. Check out 7th City Collectibles, and remember to I was going to say comment, like, share, subscribe. I've already done that. I'm so out of practice here. Until next time, chitter and be good people.
Yeah, chitter, and congratulations, league winner Jake Rawson.